Welcome back to 5 Ever Timepieces, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of luxury watches, discuss some of the stories behind these iconic pieces, and bring you guys relevant and up-to-date news from within the luxury watch world. As always, my name is Chris, and on today's episode, we're going to dive into a hot topic. Rolex watches that will not just hold their value, but could potentially increase in value over time. Whether you're a seasoned collector, a new investor, or simply just someone who loves the idea of wearing an appreciating asset, this episode is definitely for you. So grab your water, coffee, or whatever beverage of choice it is, and let's talk about why Rolex isn't just a watch, but a smart move. And no, this isn't financial advice. This is just me telling you why you need to justify spending huge amounts of money. But let's begin. Let's talk about why Rolex holds its value. All right, first off, let's talk about why Rolex is basically the blue chip stock of the watch world. For starters, Rolex controls its supply like a magician controls their tricks. Limited availability, high demand, and absolute mystery. You're like, want a Submariner? Cool, get in line. It's only a 2-year wait. Rolex is also the king of brand recognition. You say luxury watch, and most people immediately think of Rolex. Pair that with precision engineering, timeless designs, and the fact that every watch feels like a piece of history, and you got yourself a recipe for value retention, and in many cases, appreciation. But what Rolex models are there to watch, pun intended? Now let's get to the good stuff. The Rolex models that can grow your net worth. These aren't just watches, they're investments that look good with a tux or a t-shirt. First up, the GOAT, the Rolex Daytona, reference number 116500LN. The Daytona is the GOAT when it comes to Rolex models that appreciate. The ceramic bezel Daytona, especially in stainless steel, is like the Birkin bag of watches. It's hard to get, and many people are willing to pay way above retail for it. But why? Because it's iconic, it's versatile, and Paul Newman basically made it the ultimate flex. The value of the Daytona has skyrocketed over the years, especially the limited edition models. Now, if you can snag one of these at retail, or if you were able to grab one of these at retail, you've already won. Next up, you're talking about the Rolex Submariner, reference number 16610LV, also known as the Kermit. Also, you can pair this with the 116610LV, the Hulk. Now, the Submariner is another Rolex staple, but the green bezel versions, the Kermit and the Hulk, these two, they're in a league of their own. These are Rolex cult favorites. The Kermit with this more classic green bezel, it's like that vintage Porsche you buy because you know it'll only go up in value. The Hulk with this vibrant green dial and green bezel, is perfect for someone who wants to make a statement while they simply just watch their portfolio grow. Now, with the discontinuation of the Hulk, prices are starting to creep up, and you can bet they're not slowing down. Then you have the Rolex GMT-Master II, the Pepsi, reference number 126710 BLRO. Specifically, the Pepsi, the GMT-Master II with this iconic red and blue bezel. This has always been a fan favorite since its debut. It's bold, it's nostalgic, and it screams, I have taste. Plus, this watch comes in stainless steel, which Rolex collectors love because it's more accessible but still exclusive. The hype for the Pepsi watch has yet to die down, and with Rolex and their tight production, prices on the secondary market are looking real nice for resellers. Then we're going to bring up the Rolex Explorer 2, reference number 216570, also known as the polar dial. Now, okay, hear me out with this one. This one is definitely a sleeper within the luxury watch world, but the Explorer 2 isn't always the first watch people think of. But the Polar Dial, that version is gaining a little bit of traction within the collector world. It's clean, it's functional, and it's starting to show real signs of appreciation as more people realize just how underrated it is. If you're looking for something that's still kind of under the radar but has potential, this might be your move. Then, of course, the ultimate Rolex Day-Date reference number 18038, also known as the Rolex President. Now, the Rolex President, this is for the big dogs. Like I say, this is the vintage Day-Date, especially in yellow gold. These pieces aren't just flex pieces, they're classic investments. You have celebrities, politicians, even CEOs who've worn this watch for decades, so it's pretty much always in style. The value of older models is creeping up as collectors start hunting for those classic Rolex looks with that, let's just say, that old school charm. But what drives the value of Rolex? Okay, what makes these watches really appreciate is the better question. It's all about three key factors: rarity, condition, and demand. With the rarity, you're looking for that discontinuation or the limited production, that creates that, that value. And then you have the conditioning. You make sure that you guys are keeping your box, the papers, the date card. And for the love of all things holy, don't scratch your bezel, okay? And then there's the demand. Now trends play a big role here. For example, green Rolex models are all the rage right now. And let's not forget Rolex's genius marketing. They've mastered this art of making you feel like you're a part of an elite club when you own one. Now, as far as a few tips for some aspiring Rolex investors, now, if you're looking to invest in a Rolex watch, here are just a few pro tips. If you can, if possible, buy retail. Now, I understand this is easier said than done, but if you could, you're going to already be ahead. Then make sure that you guys go for, iconic models. Stick to the heavy hitters, Submariners, Daytonas, and the GMT-Masters, and etc. Make sure that you guys are doing your research. Make sure you guys know the references, the history, and the market trends. Don't just buy one because somebody on Instagram told you to. And make sure that you guys be patient. The value of the watch doesn't shoot up overnight. This is a long game investment for you guys. And also remember that, condition is king. The better the condition, the more it's worth. Keep your watches in as pristine shape and condition as possible. And always, like I say, always keep the original box and papers. Now, there you have it. Rolex watches that can increase in value and how to play the game smartly. Whether you're rocking a Submariner or eyeing that next Daytona, remember, Rolex isn't just a watch. It's a legacy, an investment, and to be honest, it's a really good way to flex without saying anything. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe if you're listening in on any other podcasts. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, as well as Apple Podcasts. And if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a review, share it with your watch-loving friends. And if you're sitting on a Rolex you think might be worth more than your first car, hit me up. I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, keep it classy, keep it timeless, and keep it 5 ever.